recognize you. You're the IT guy, right?
That's me. Hi.
Bob Kelderhouse.
Hey, Bob.
I used to be over at Blue Mountain.
Yeah, I remember.
I know you were very helpful to
How you
us.
doing?
All the things we're doing over there. Great.
You here for Nicholas
Yes,
tonight?
we are. Yeah.
Good.
Great.
Good.
Yeah.
This is weird.
Why is it?
Look at the image. It's backwards.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's got to be something in the settings.
I would think, but why would it?
It's like rear projection.
Oh, is it using? Because it thinks it's the laptop camera, so it flipped it. No, that wouldn't. That's weird.
I understand women more better than I understand computers.
Do you have a? Could you give me a line in to this?
You need a feed?
Yeah, I don't need it, but
I don't have the
you
kit.
don't have a mini.
I can maybe go look at my tech kit, but I got to come out the board here and give it to you.
Yeah.
Do you have anything in this box of shirts?
I think there's actually, I don't know if it's big enough, there might be a mini cable in there. I think there is.
You guys have a meeting? Oh, wow. Hey.
That's probably this is good.
I could move it.
You're gonna have to meet me halfway. There you go. No, you're good. You're good.
I don't know why this is backwards, so that's weird.
There's gotta be something in the settings.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, nice
How are
to meet you.
you?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
My name's Laura. I'm with Rosie's. I'm going to be taking your computer after this is all done.
Okay.
Sounds good. That'll let we'll catch up after this one.
Sure.
Yeah, it levels up if you see it.
There's no holding it. I just put this one. Oh, there's no need to call. We're just part of it. You can start calling. Just one part. No, no way. No way. He's not going on the website. I wouldn't even know how to get on the website. He's not doing it. He's so bad. Yeah, I can't imagine him doing that at 5 o'clock in the morning. No way. He doesn't even get up at 5 o'clock. Oh, God.
Physically, you can do that before you're with.
I think it's possible to shorten this movement and discuss it. A whole bunch of stuff. Well, that's true. That's true. And a whole bunch of this thing.
Matthew, are you aiming a camera at us right now?
What?
Are you aiming a camera at us right now?
Yes.
Do me a favor,
No.
make it go bye-bye.
Well, it's supposed to be sunny tomorrow. Right?
Yeah, Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in Enrique's.
What time is this up?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you?
I don't know, I can sleep in tomorrow morning. I'm like enjoying my spring
Did
break.
you get the call?
What's up?
Did you
Yeah, I
get the call?
got the call. Yeah. Thought on 21st. That's
Yeah, it's sort of a no-brainer this time.
What?
It's sort of a no-brainer this time.
yeah, exactly. It's gonna be
Watch, we'll get nothing.
exactly. Right?
That's what I said to Joe, I went out a little bit early, I said, gamble better snow.
Exactly.
High school is canceled for tomorrow.
I haven't been watching.
It's usually like a consensus, though, isn't it? They usually go for it.
Yes, They're in there.
Works, it's just backwards on here. Yeah, it goes straight out through the doors.
Yeah.
Right here.
Well,
Down the hall on your right, about halfway down the hall. Okay. Worst case, I'll be right there.
Okay.
this is going to be Jeter's last year.
What's up?
It's going to be Derek Jeter's last year.
I know.
Did he announce that today?
Yeah.
Really?
And everyone's like throwing these like funeral parties for him from the Yankees. There's 138 games left.
Oh,
Yeah,
It's
right.
like okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll wait a little while. I loved him.
He had his whole career in the Yankees. That's awesome.
I
Yeah.
know, it's so great.
He made the Yankees.
And he never got arrogant. That was the best
I
part.
love Jeter.
And you never heard any stuff
Hey,
like
John.
No,
A
never
Rod
heard
or
of it.
like
No.
nothing. Just a
Nope.
good
Nope.
guy.
He just played
Play
ball.
baseball exactly.
And it's just completely adorable.
You should mentor other players now.
Yeah, big time.
Did you watch the Olympics last night?
Last night, yeah. Which one? Shaun White.
Shaun White.
That was terrible.
I was like, oh.
Yeah, no.
I know.
And then the guy who won,
Yeah,
that's like his idol.
I know.
Like
It was passing the
He's being
torch.
congratulated by his idol.
Exactly.
So-
And it was cool because that kid made up what John wanted the move. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
can't imagine.
Yeah.
Probably unbelievable experience.
But he was pretty humble too. He said, you know, I just had a really bad
Yeah,
day.
he was
said-
humble, but you could tell he was crushed.
Said it was tough from the minute I got
And
here.
everyone was like, "So this
Well,
is your
the
last
hype
year?" And he
was
was
so
like,
bad.
"No, be back next time." And he was
Yeah.
like, "So this is your last year?" No,
Yeah.
see you there in South Korea.
But he
The half pipe was in very good shape.
Oh yeah, I know. People would have had great scores for just
Yeah.
They were wiping out all
getting screwed
over.
by that slush. It was terrible, terrible.
Or even the thing that they were doing last night, the snowboarders.
Yeah, exactly. Half pipe.
How many of them crashed? I
Exactly.
couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
And
well,
it
you
was-
know, something's wrong if they're all.
Yeah,
That's what I
there
think.
was something wrong. They stopped it for a while and they like
Yeah.
watered it down and threw down salt to try and flash freeze it,
Yeah.
but it obviously didn't get the job done.
You see them all with their thick hose.
Exactly. It's, you know, they said it. They were like, you know, these guys have to get up there and do these ridiculous tricks, and it's
Right.
usually the tricks they're worried about. Instead,
Right.
it's like
Right.
being able to snowboard between the tricks. That's ridiculous.
Sean wiped out, he got the highest.
Yeah.
He went up in
Oh, it
the
was like
air. I
17 feet in the air.
Yeah.
He's nuts. He's nuts.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried it? Did you snowboard?
I've snowboarded, yeah.
But not like.
No.
No.
They were like, "You want to go on the blues?" I'm like, "I don't know, but I'm feeling good on the bunny hill.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Stay here for a while longer."
The first time my son went snowboarding with a bunch of friends who had gone before and didn't tell him where they were going.
Yeah.
They brought him up to like the hardest
Ooh.
course
Yeah,
and
I
said,
can't
okay,
even
see ya.
Oh, that's not nice.
Yeah.
We're not friends.
He said he was like bumper hard all
Yeah.
the way down. He just kept banging into things. He goes, but you know what? I learned how to snowboard.
Yeah.
He goes, I didn't kill myself.
I mean, the first time I've been twice. The first time I was iffy. But the second time, you know, I did some like, you know, the mediums and like I got into some tricks and stuff. But it's a
I don't
whole
like
other world
my
up there.
feet trapped like that.
Yeah, your feet are trapped, and you know, yeah.
Well, I love it.
Mhm.
Not
Yeah.
snowboarding, skiing.
Skiing, yeah, it's fun. It's awesome.
It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, honey, how are you?
What's going on?
Yawn.
Huh?
Yawn.
You kidding me? I've got a big score. It's like I found out they're closing work tomorrow. They did. Well, we work from home, which, you know what?
That's
Working
good.
in my pajamas and my sweats is pretty darn cool.
You're good with that.
Oh.
Jack will have.
I just like, well,
So,
I think Larry's.
So they're really expecting snow. They're closing businesses.
Yeah, it's 10 to 14 inches. It's gonna be a. That's what I heard last. That's what I got the weather notification. Like, be careful, severe
Let's see what
alert.
my iPad says. As I was driving to work this morning, I'm thinking, well, they're going to have to move some snow. They're going to get ready for more snow.
Yeah.
It's a big mess out there.
Exactly.
That's good. How are you?
that's Nicholas.
Congratulations. It's my family. Mom, alone, dad, and my girlfriend's not here to see me.
Listen,
And my dog too. I have a dog. I don't know.
his girlfriend's not here.
English bulldog. English bulldog. Yeah. They're really ugly. My wife has. We have two boxers. How many? Two. Two boxers, and we have a third dog. Yeah, that's good. Well, we have three total. Mine is got a little
My Ernie's the cutest.
I was glad.
Your Ms. PC. Well, your kitty has two with her. I'm sorry about last time when I was already here.
Oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it. It was no worries. I got to talk to Matt. It was all good.
It was all good?
Yeah.
We ended up closing the meeting early too, we just said Jazz can't be here, we're out of here. That was it.
Yeah.
We were hoping for that call.
What's up? You need a bike?
A what?
A bike?
A bike? Yeah, right.
All the Twitter people tell me they can't get to school.
Big mountain tires.
Yeah, it's so funny when you put it in.
We'll send you a bus. the layroom in Maryland. I overheard you, they might have found something else. Oh, is it,
Good evening and welcome to this evening's board meeting. Tonight is February 12th. We're currently in meeting, so we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As I said, we're currently in session. I could just, everybody look over your agendas, please. Are there any items that anybody would like to pull from the consent agenda?
You pull donations?
It's separate anyway. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
All those in favor? Okay. The next topic is, as you see, Charles, it's removed from the acceptance of donations. There is a donation from Wells Fargo and a donation from the Blue Mountain Middle School, the PTA. The Wells Fargo is a $1,000 donation from a parent who's an employee, and Wells Fargo does a matching donation program. Thank you very much to that parent who did it. It's anonymous, but for not only the $1,000, but making the effort for the additional $1,000. I know those things are, they say it's easy, but it's not. So thank you very much. And the Blue Mountain PTA is $155, and again, it's for a Student of the Month program. Basically, it's a reward for the students that are Student of the Month, the kids who go that are doing what they're supposed to, going above, and those who are going above and beyond academically, in an effort, just socially and towards the other, their other students and such. Can I get a motion to approve these two donations? All those in favor?
Aye.
One abstention, please, President. Thank you. I messed up, did I not? It's okay. Okay, look at it, she's like, I'm used to this. I apologize, there was a recognition that was supposed to be resolved before the consent agenda, and that is for Nicholas Ruales, BOCES Student of Distinction for February.
Yes, so we have with us from Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES, the Director of Special Education Guidance in the Child Study Center, Mr. Adam Vanderstuyf. So if he would like to join us, BOCES has a Student of Distinction Award with very specific criteria where they recognize students who go above and beyond and do great things in the classroom. And one of Hendrick Hudson's own has been recognized by BOCES, and I'm going to let Adam share with the board and the community who are with us the criteria and who our award recipient is, and present him with the award.
Great, and thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. I'd like to thank the Board of Education here at Hendrick Hudson, as well as the administration for welcoming us here this evening. The Student of Distinction Award is something that is certainly very special to us, and when it came time this month to really recognize our student, Nicholas was really our top choice. While all of our students we recognized, as proud students and really hard workers, this one in particular was very special for us. And to tell you a little bit more about the reasons why, I'd like to introduce both Bob Kelderhouse, the principal, Nick's principal, as well as Nicholas himself. We'd like to have Nicholas come on up as well. Come on up, Nick.
You're good. First off, I want to echo Adam's words and thank all of you for having us here this evening. I'm honored to represent Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES, and I'm honored to be here speaking on behalf of Nick. And I've had the privilege of being Nick's principal since he first came to BOCES as probably about a 4th or a 5th grader up at Lakeview Elementary School.
Yeah.
All those years ago.
Yeah.
And I also want to acknowledge Nick's team, his teacher Connie Leota and his classroom team, They're unable to be here this evening, but they certainly sent their heartfelt thanks and their congratulations to Nick. And I know Nick's going to tell them all about this. Probably, hopefully Friday. What I want to do is I want to read what we wrote about Nick, and it has some quotes from Miss Leota in there. And I think it really captures Nick. The first thing you notice when you meet Nick Corrales is his easy smile. Nick, a student in PNW BOCES Transitions program, likes nothing more than to be helpful, engaged, and independent. And he accomplishes all those things every day with a uniquely positive outlook. Nick first arrived at PNW BOCES a sweet, engaging young boy who loved being around people. His teachers are happy to report that he has since grown into a mature 20-year-old who is still sweet and engaging and loves to be around people. During the school week, Nick has a very busy schedule that includes working 4 out of 5 days at various locations, including Pepsi, Sears, and the Yorktown Senior Center. On any given day, Nick might be found setting up cookies for baking at Pepsi, sizing clothes at Sears, or packaging meals for homebound senior citizens at the Senior Center. Watching Nick at work, one can see that he is a very hardworking young man with a strong work ethic. He takes his jobs very seriously and always strives to do the best he can. Nick is one of the most polite and respectful people you will ever meet, according to his teacher, Connie Leota. I can't think of a day that Nick did not walk into my class with a huge smile and an energetic good morning. Nick says good morning to everybody. And he knows everybody. He knows everybody in the Walden building. He's always ready for whatever the day brings, and he prides himself on all the independent things he can do. Nick is always the first one to ask if he can help, whether it's a peer, staff member, or just holding the door for a mother with a stroller. And I've seen him do that on a number of occasions. And he also looks out for the younger children in the building, and the younger children look up to Nick. Nick has a very busy social life outside of school as well. He has many interests. His many interests include bowling on a Norwest team, competing in a Special Olympics athlete, and going out to eat. Nick is a known foodie, according to his teacher, but I can also share that because I've been in Nick's class for a number of the holiday celebrations. I speak on behalf of all of Nick's teachers, friends, therapists, and staff when I say that we are all exceptionally proud of him and his many accomplishments. He'll be a very successful and productive young man, will always be sweet, engaging, and will continue to love being around people.
So Nick, two things we would like to do. We
Yes,
would like to present you with the certificate,
Yeah.
recognizing you.
Yeah.
And we'd also like to present you with the Medal of Excellence.
Once again, thank you for having us here this evening. We're indeed honored, and we're very proud of Nick. You know, and I think as I look back at what Nick's accomplished in his many years with us, Nick, what I would say to you is, in life we all have heroes, and for all that you've accomplished and the way you go about doing it, you are one of my heroes.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Nick, thank you very much. You make us proud. You should be proud of yourself, and you should be. And I can tell your dad's proud there too. Is this your mom?
Yeah, and my mother.
Hello, little Michael.
My girlfriend's not here.
Well, you sort of ignore them sometimes. But thank you for making us so proud.
I was kind of nervous, though, yeah.
We wouldn't have known it. You look great.
BOCES began a tradition this year of having a services dinner, and they invited superintendents and board presidents from the component districts. And it was an evening of great food, which the BOCES catering students created, the culinary arts program, but had short little, I'd say 10-minute commercials of all of the different programs that BOCES provides to our students that oftentimes we either forget about or don't know about or sadly talk about at budget season because we have the bill to pay. And Nick's father spoke to a room of a little over 100 superintendents and board members and BOCES staff. And when you hear from the customer of what BOCES is able to do and provide that other school districts just can't, It is really phenomenal, and BOCES has a very sincere place in my heart. That was my father's career. He worked for the state education department and ended up working for BOCES, creating vocational schools throughout New York State, from Warrensburg in the Adirondacks to Buffalo, Syracuse, and then Rochester. So it's a service, it's a group of committed people that are doing great things for kids like Nick and all of his friends at Pine Bridges, and it's something that shouldn't be overlooked. So thank you for making this recognition really important, and thank you for bringing it to our district, because it's important that folks understand what you guys do and understand return on investment for students like Nick. It's a great story that warms our heart, so thank you.
Yes.
Downhill from here.
It's downhill from here. Budget and other junk, so here we go. So we will not be offended if you folks find your way to the door before the snow comes, but thanks for making us happy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Congratulations.
Thank you. What's your name again?
Roseanne.
Roseanne.
Have a good night. Get home safe.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
And then there were two.
We should just adjourn now and go home.
Exactly.
Move up. They're hiding back there.
Have your signs? They're like, no.
John.
All right, so that was nice. I apologize for missing that. I would
Let me,
right in the middle.
let me just text Matt.
It is, it's downhill from downhill. Yes,
He's
audience
eating
comments. Okay, which would bring us to our committee reports. There were several committee meetings this week. Finance, Facilities, and Policy. Finance, I really don't see the point in having it separate because the two budget presentations will address what we discussed in Finance. Facilities and Policy, however.
Facilities, we met yesterday. Basically, the purpose of the meeting yesterday was just to update us on how the progress is going with the technology purchases and where we're at right now, and just giving us, play by play what we're doing, and things are moving along the way we projected them, and they have a game plan. We're trying to get some more things in for the holiday breaks and things along those lines. So it's basically it's just a really informational piece to keep us abreast of what's going on.
Wonderful, we're getting moving on that.
Yeah, and important to underscore that was the purpose of our trip to Albany in early January is we have positioned the project in really two phases. One is technology, which we sought state approval and they released the funds, so we can go ahead and start the ordering and installation. The other piece where we talk about septics and doors and windows and parking lots, the state has not released or approved that project yet because there's just more details and intricacies. So we can move forward with technology, which is nice because we can stagger the work. So we wanted to keep the committee in the loop with what we were doing, timelines, and what our upgrades could be. And we also talked about, which I think is really important, continual communication to the public on the impact of the technology. So the folks understand how it's being used, when it's available, and how we're moving forward. So we'll make sure we do that as well.
I think we also discussed too, when we start getting to the building portion, that we will be also updating the public as well as to what we've accomplished, where we are, and if any problems arise and things along those lines. So,
I think we're going to see most of that activity in the summer.
Yep.
Good. That's
Actually, technology met today, technology leadership team, and I went to that. And we went through mainly the same things. Matthew updated us on the bond. He's preparing to get that ready. One thing he did talk about, which was important, is that, and he'll bring it up in the budget, but we're preparing for professional development so that the technology gets used in a way that gives us return on investment, so that teachers are ready to use it when it gets into the classroom, the smart boards, all the other things. And then he did some budget review and other things. That was just, we want to be ready to be able to, when we get the technology there, to have the teachers ready to use it in a way that's productive and boosts achievement.
okay. And policy, I imagine, is
We're
probably
going to be talking about the policies.
that's later
We
this
spoke
evening
about it
as
in the
well.
meeting, yes.
I don't believe there are others, or
Yep.
That's it. Okay, that would bring us to our superintendent's report.
Okay, I will keep this somewhat short. I'd like to introduce to the board and our community Annie Chestnut, who is our communications specialist, who we are working through with BOCES. She joins us as a journalist and all sorts of other really good things. She worked with a number of school districts in school communications and certainly understands how to communicate to the public and parents and make sure word gets out. I'd like to think that the superintendent of schools is a very important position. I will tell you, I think hers is even more important. As I have learned through my first 7 months, a theme I'm hearing is some of our greatest successes are our best kept secrets. And Annie is going to be able to connect some dots and make sure that the message, good, bad, or indifferent, is getting communicated, that there's transparency with the activities and direction of the district, but also more importantly, being able to showcase everything that's right about our community. So she's met with principals, she's met with myself, our PTA council. There is, as you know, as a board, a lot of work to be done. And the good news is that you folks have talked about it for a good long time. It's part of the strategic plan. It is no secret that the community and this board and previous boards want to focus on increasing communication and participation with our stakeholders, and Annie's going to be able to help do that. So if you have anything you'd like to add, just make sure you do it at the microphone so it's official.
I just want to thank everyone here for letting Joe hire me through BOCES, and I'm really excited to be here. I was just telling some of my friends on Facebook tonight that I've been covering school board meetings 4 to 6 times a month for the past 5 years. So I'm thrilled to have only one to go to, and the funny thing is that I really enjoy them because I think you learn more about a district by watching how the leadership operates in this setting than you can almost anywhere else. So I'm really excited to get to know all of you individually, and I'm already thrilled to have spent time in all the wonderful schools in this district, and I think it's going to be a really great opportunity for me, and I hope that the results will be acceptable and exciting for you. So thanks a lot.
Well, there's a lot of good stuff, so you've got to be
I think
busy.
you sent out an email today with some of the work that Annie's already done, and it's very important because she turned the negative into educating the public with the report that we had that we were a district in financial stress. Really, people see that and all they think about is that part of it right there. And the letter that we sent to the editor, I think is a great job. It's going to refute what was said there. So I mean, that's getting out a positive from a negative, where no one else knew about it. Because once that came out, they saw the property value, and first thing they say, here's a district again, we're not doing our job, we're not doing that. But they didn't tell the whole story and why that was. They just said we were a district in distress. And that letter to the editor, I think, was well written, and it was quite precise in what we needed to get out there. So.
Thank you. I think one of the most important things a PR person can do is to find out what's happening. What I used to say is what the word is in the parking lot. I've been not only a school PR person in Putnam Valley and a school reporter in three different districts in Putnam County for the paper that I used to work for, but I've also been a parent. I've been a PTA president. I've been on the Health Advisory Council. I've served on building steering committees. I've done a lot of internal volunteer school work as well as paid school work. So I kind of get where everyone's coming from, and also my daughter is a brand new teacher in the city of New York. So I have connections to just about every aspect of this. I've never run for school board, but maybe when I retire. So I'm hoping that one of the things we can do is to put out fires where they need to be put out. If there are rumors that are going around or incorrect information that's circulating in the community, I see it as my job to make sure that the correct information is out there and that people will be reassured that this is a good, strong district, because it is.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And welcome.
We heard a couple weeks ago from Audrey Hecht, who with Dr. Rogers shared part of her science research. Well, she and Dylan Gambardella, another senior in the science research class, went to the Westchester Rockland Science Competition last weekend. And Dylan finished first place.
Awesome.
And Audrey, who is here, finished in fifth place. And that is a really big deal. So we have heard from Audrey. We are working with Dylan's publicist to see when he has time for us. But we'd like Dylan to come and share with the board and the community his research interests and what led him to that great achievement. And also, we received notice in a very passive way, and I'll talk about that in a second. Back in October, we celebrated 2 National Merit semifinalists, Owen Kephart and Liz Feller. Well, Owen Kephart and Liz Feller are no longer semifinalists. They both are finalists. So they are among 8,000 students nationwide who have met very rigorous and stringent academic criteria. So we have 2 students that are 1 in a million, if not more. And the reason that wasn't really well communicated is because the announcement of the national semifinalists, which are 16,000 students, is a little more coordinated. When they identify the finalists and review their academic record between September 30th and it was mid-January, they leave that communication up to the district. So we received notice yesterday. Annie is working with both Owen and Liz to sort of get their story and picture and hear from their family and friends and teachers. So we will have a big spread on those 2. But great news that this board and community should really be proud of, because the investments have always paid off, and now they're getting regional, state, national recognition. That's something to be very, very proud of. And with that, I know we have a lot of budget presentations and policies to talk about, so we can move on.
On to the fun.
On to the fun.
Our next would be our budget presentation would be for technology.
Okay.
We take one place. We're not saving the best for last, Matthew. We're letting you go first.
Okay, good evening. Nice to see you again. So I'm going to take you through the 2014-15 budget proposal for technology. A little bit different this year because of the capital project, which I'll get into. And as I usually do, I'll start off with the goals for the department. And this is our ongoing goal, is to kind of keep doing what we're doing and to keep expanding the use of instructional technology in the district. We do have an instructional technology plan, which kind of is the overarching document that guides our work, and we want to each year kind of chip away at that. And this is part of our normal 5-year replacement cycle. We will be we'll just be rolling over our lease line in the budget and replacing the middle school computers this year. So that's kind of the stuff that we do every year to kind of keep things moving forward and keep things working and operating. The next 3 items are sort of new, and they're directly related to the capital project, and I'll spend the most time talking about them because they're the most significant. So obviously we're spending a good deal of money on infrastructure upgrades, the networking upgrades, cabling, servers, wireless, and mobile devices, and we want to maximize the use of that. So that's something that we've talked about before, as making sure that we're not just throwing technology into the schools, that we're really getting the most out of it. One of the issues that we've dealt with for years, you'll know that kind of every year I come here and I show you a nice chart showing the growth of computers and the non-growth of tech support staff. We've had 3 technicians for 8 years, and our network has grown over 50%, the number of devices and the number of servers and complexity. So it's been a struggle to keep things moving. So one of the things that we need to do is make sure that we can support not only what we have now, but all this new equipment. And a really big, important, and exciting piece for me, and I've worked on this to some degree with Joe. He's had a lot of to say about this and a lot of input, and we're looking to really expand and target the staff development that we do in a different way than what we've done before. So we've had the Instructional Technology Academy before, and we want to kind of expand that and target that to the use of instructional materials that are specifically developed for smart boards. So just the overview, There are 4 budget categories that we are rolling over with no increase. That's the hardware line, the software line, the supply line, and the computer lease. And we're asking for 2 increases to support the things I just spoke about, the tech support issues and the professional development. And the first line is a contractual line. Our tech support comes from an outside contractor, Edutech. They provide our technicians now. We would like to add 1 additional technician so that we can really support all this new equipment. And the second increase is a staff development line, and it's actually we're putting it in a BOCES code, so there will be aid that we get back on that because we want to run that program through BOCES. So just to give you a little rationale for both of those increases, as I said, on the contractual side, the tech support side, we're understaffed now, and we're adding 500 mobile devices, 250 wireless access points, and around 82 rooms getting either smart boards or projectors or both. So that's a lot of new stuff that we have to keep running, and we need people to do that. On the professional development side, there's going to be a really significant shift in the way we're using technology, both with the smart boards and the use of mobile devices. Every case study I have read and that talk about mobile devices, they all say the same thing: PD first. Don't just deliver laptops to the school and expect teachers to use them and expect it to work. You need to train people first because it's a really different way of working. So that's something that we're going to be working on this summer and in the fall to make sure that those devices are used, and they're used well, and they're used in a way that's effective for students. So in the context of that, we want to expand the Instructional Technology Academy to include some training for these mobile devices. We want to ensure the return on the investment. The district and the community is investing a lot, and the district certainly has invested over the years in instructional technology, and this year is a big push, and we want to make sure that we get a return on that in terms of a change in the way instruction is happening in the classroom. So this is the budget breakdown. Sorry if it's so small. I did do that intentionally. The hardware line is 0 change. The software BOCES line, that's the staff development line. We're asking for an increase of $45,000. And again, that will be aidable at about 47%. So that money would come back into the budget in following years. And then the other increase is $100,000 in the contractual line. That's to support 1 additional technician through Edutech. A picture is worth 1,000 words.
Or more, right? It says it all, Matthew.
You are valued.
Tommy could show the same one, though. I actually got the idea from
Tommy's
him.
lower. We heard you, Tom.
So that's really the overview. I think we're really poised for some significant changes and some significant positive movement in the district. My goal is to do it really thoughtfully and really carefully and not rush into it. So we've started on some of the capital infrastructure improvements already. The smart boards have been ordered. The cabling crews are scheduled, and so we're getting started for this spring and summer to deal with all of those infrastructure issues. And then this summer and next fall, we want to really tackle the instructional side, and that's when we really want to target the staff development around the use of the mobile devices and the smart boards. Thank you.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the plan for staff development?
Sure. So a couple of months ago, Joe and I and a staff developer that Joe has a relationship with did a walkthrough of the district. Her name's Karen Young, and she runs a training company, and we kind of wanted to see how teachers were using smart boards in the district. And we talked about this at the technology leadership team, so this is not a slight on anybody. It's just really was kind of a informal assessment. And we noticed pretty quickly, and Karen had never been in the district, obviously, but I noticed pretty quickly that the use had changed radically from what it had been a year or 2 ago. And in many, many cases, the use of the smart boards had gone backwards. It had become less sophisticated, it had become less engaging as a result of Common Core and the pressures that teachers were feeling. So, and we talked about this at Technology Leadership Team, and teachers said, yes, that's true. I mean, I don't have time to develop these great interactive smartboard lessons that I used to do because I'm just on the treadmill to deal with this new curriculum. So that's one of the things we saw when we walked around the district, and we're going to really address that because we've got a lot invested in that, and it's really an effective instructional tool. And it's not being utilized as well as it can be. So the plan for right now, and we're still kind of fine-tuning this, is Karen's going to work with us. We're going to select 10 teachers, 2 from each school, that are going to get some high-level training in using the smartboard. So it's similar to what we've been doing before, but kind of just a couple of notches higher. In the past, we would bring outside trainers in for this kind of skill set, and so that's what Karen brings to the table. She's going to bring that high-level training. These folks are going to be our instructional technology facilitators. They're going to be doing turnkey training for everybody. And the other piece is we're going to be offering in the first week after school ends in the summer a 3-day smartboard intensive. And then the last week before school starts in August, the same session. We're going to offer that to all teachers that have not had, and it's about 60 teachers that either don't have a smartboard now or have a projector but no smartboard, so there's no point in taking that class if you don't have the equipment. So it's about 60 teachers that need this kind of training. We're going to offer that to them one of those 2 weeks to try and entice and encourage them to get trained. Those that don't participate in the summer will be trained in September during a school day. So that's the first phase. Then, the other piece that these 10 teachers are going to be doing is they're going to be working with the grade levels to develop smartboard lessons that we're going to store in an online library. Well, one of the issues is, so if you have 5 or 6 4th grade teachers, why do we need to have 5 or 6 people each create their own lesson on colonial America? Doesn't make sense. We need to be a little bit more efficient. So these folks are going to do some of that lesson creation, do some curriculum writing, creating these model lessons because you can create an smartboard lesson or you can create a really good one. And the difference is time. And so this is a way to kind of facilitate that process and take some of the burden off every teacher to create 50 great lessons. Now maybe they just create 5 or 6, and these 10 folks create 50. So that's the plan right now.
Is there going to be a central storehouse for these lessons?
Yes.
Where teachers can actually access them? And my second part is, these teachers that are going to be the turnkey trainers, will they also be accessible for teachers that might have questions or need extra assistance? Would they be able to go into their classrooms then and be able to offer assistance?
So first part is easy, yes, and we're thinking now of using Atlas Rubicon to store the lessons there so they're integrated with the curriculum. That seems like it makes the most sense. We've got to kind of fool around with it a little bit. We looked at other options of using maybe a Google Docs or a Share Drive or some third-party product, but that seems like the best way to go because you can post them there and then everybody can get them, and they're already in there anyway. And if they're not using Atlas now, they're going to be using it more.
And that's part of the Atlas is where we put our curriculum.
That's our curriculum mapping program, which is a web-based program, so they can access it from anywhere. So that's an easy answer, an easy solution. The other one is harder, and we've been, this has been a challenge for years because we don't have many districts that are really way ahead of us have 1 or 2 people that are teachers on special assignment that don't have any students, and they are facilitators. They're mentors, and they work with other teachers, and we're not there yet. That's certainly a goal. Someday it would be great if we could get there, but these 10 people are going to have their full teaching load, so they're not going to have time during the day to assist, to work with other people. They will have time when they're doing classes during the day or after school to work in that way, and we have to kind of figure out the logistics of all that, how that works.
Thank you.
But
it's
maybe
good to
in 3
know.
or 4 years we'll, we'll be there.
Other questions?
I do.
Regarding, because I feel it every day, so if something happens to my smartboard and I have to wait 3 weeks or something like that, it becomes frustrating. So I really agree that if we have the technology, we have You could prepare, I could revert right back to a blackboard, but I have everything on my smartboard, like everything. And, you know, there are do nows, and instead of wasting that time, but it's very hard to use it if it's broken for a month. So when you're walking around and a teacher isn't using it, it's not, maybe it's perhaps because broken, there's no bulb, they can't, a stupid little connection, you know, we get that a lot. So having the people to help you, and I know it's hard, if it's a teacher who's your stipend position or whatever, they're teaching too.
There's an additional tech being added as well.
Right.
So
one of the other pieces
that
with
means
this,
there would be one at each school?
the teacher or the technician?
The technician.
So
3 total.
the teachers,
4
the
total.
technology facilitators would be
4
2 for each building, so 10 of them. Maybe a third at the high school, if we can. And these are going to be people that we pick. Alice, Joe, and I, and the principals are going to handpick these people that we think are going to be the most effective. As far as the technicians, so that we'll have 4 technicians then, or 3 3/4. One of the things I'm looking at is how to restructure our tech support so that they do less running around, they're more specialized, they have, and I haven't figured out exactly how I'm going to do it. If I say, okay, you have this building and everything in this building is yours, or if one person has, you do all the smart boards and printers, but I want to try and be more efficient because I know they run around a lot and they lose time driving between buildings. So that's one of my goals this summer, to try and streamline that whole process.
Are they here every day? Are they, how, every day?
3, well, right now 2 are here full time and 1 is here 4 days a week.
Are we seeing kind of a move of the technology at the school, specifically the high school, of moving towards being more accepting of students who are bringing in their own tech? Because I know that, you know, bringing on, you know, most students in my classes that use laptops, they usually bring in their own because we've got them, and it's much more helpful to have our own stuff. But that blocks us out of a few things. You know, we're not allowed to access the printers. I know there's Wi-Fi things about, you know, not being able to access certain websites, but that email them on the website and they usually approve it, which is pretty cool. I've been through that. But printers mostly, and also the student share drive, because as we're making more of, we all have these accounts on Google Docs, and it's awesome, except teachers haven't been making that move to storing that stuff on Docs. Instead, they're sticking with student share, which only a few kids in the class can access. And it's not so helpful. So it'd be cool if we could see a move of
really good points, and we're in a transition phase, and not uncommon for the kids to be ahead of the adults with technology. So I think that's what we're seeing is, you know, you're talking about the move is to, you know, get away from server-based to cloud-based, and many of the high school kids certainly are there already, and the teachers, some teachers are there and utilizing that, and some are not. Some are still using our server-based shares. I will address a couple of things specifically about the printers. So one of the things we're looking at is Chromebooks, and Chromebooks are unique because they don't attach to your network. They're only an internet device. So our printers reside on our network. So right now, the Chromebooks, we just have about 20 that we've been piloting. You can't print, which is kind of a pain. So there is a technology called Cloud Print that we're going to start testing, because if we have 200 or 300 of these, they need to be able to print. And essentially, it takes our printers that we have now and it makes them accessible from the internet. So from a Chromebook, you can go out to the internet and send your print job back in to your printer. So with that being implemented, students who bring their own devices would be able to do that. Because it's basically you send your print job to an email address. The printer has an email address.
Exactly. And you're talking about Google Cloud Print?
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
awesome.
it's a version of that.
Similar.
It's an enterprise version of that.
Okay. Yeah, that's great.
So that's one thing that we're moving towards. Was there something else? Filtering.
Oh yeah, it's, you know, I knew they made a whole switch, and things like Wikipedia were blocked, and you know, you try to get on TED and it would be like blocked for educational purposes, and I was like, what?
Yeah, so, that was a whole transition to the new filter.
But I got you. But yeah, so it's getting sorted out, so it's great. Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew.
Brings us to the athletic budget. Mr. Baker will be presenting.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everybody. So tonight's athletic budget, I'll go through, similar to Mr. Swerdloff, some of the hold-the-line type areas and some areas where we have to take a look at. Just an interesting piece about the one picture on the left there, that's Alyssa Small. This year, that picture will also be featured in the County Center program at Westchester County Center. So those of you that traveled down to the county center, Alyssa was quite happy that her picture will be in that program this year. So, a little highlights about the athletic department here, and after press time, I have 2 more bullets that I'd like to announce on that. So in the fall, we had a good season with our scholar athletes. 100% of the teams made it again this year. We've always consistently been in the 90s, and it was nice to see 100% of the teams qualifying for the benchmark number of students that qualify with a 90% GPA. Our GPA athlete versus the non-athlete still remains higher, 86 to 83. Our non-eligibility list, only 6% of the athletes this year have been on the 6% of the list were athletes. In this current list that came out, only 3% of them were. So we remain very well in the classroom with our athletes. We had 30 all-league athletes in the fall. We had league champions. We had 2 in this winter. We had girls winter track and ice hockey won the league championship. We had a sectional champion this year in volleyball. And hot off the presses about 20 minutes ago, Rashida Shardo just won the sectional championship for track and field down at the Armory. So I just got word on that Rashida is the sectional champ for us. We won the New York State Joseph Abraham Award for our outstanding training program that we have here, and we will be honored at a game in the spring. We tried to work it out for some of the winter games here, but the representatives from the New York State Athletic Trainers Association couldn't be here, so we're going to pick a game in the spring. And obviously, Meg Griner was a large piece of that, so we were honored there. I keep a running tabulation of our kids in college. We have 44 kids now playing college sports from our athletic programs, representing 16 different sports. So we have that. Our community service was recognized in Section 1. Last year, at this time, we were recognized by all of Section 1 for having a community service program. We won the Community Service Program Award. We had a Section 1 student-athlete scholarship winner, as Mr. Hochweider alluded to. Dylan Gambardella was the male recipient of all of Section 1. The Annette Ronich Scholarship was a tough one to get from our cheerleaders, so Amanda Quinones won that. We've done some things to increase our school spirit. I work with a group of kids each week and touch base from time to time about how we can do that. We implemented programs such as Staff Appreciation Day. We did our Blue Crew T-shirts. We worked with our Hall of Fame committee in the fall, and we tried to get that out there, and that's been really good, and it's been well received with that as we come in with that. We've built in programs for our Dignity Act. We have, whether they are new coaches, newly certified coaches are mandated now to take a 6-hour course through BOCES for the Dignity Act. We have coaches that have taken online courses for the National Federation of High School. They've taken some of those. And I'm also proud to say that we had 8 varsity coaches in the last year complete some online programs with an online partnership they developed with Positive Coaching Alliance. So we did some work there in that regard. And the one bullet that's not on there, which again hot off the presses today, was we had our 99th Con Ed Award winner today in Cassidy Boyle. So Cassidy Boyle was named our Con Ed Award winner for the week. So number 99 in the history of Hen Hut. So the next one, we hit the century mark. So we continue to have some great things on and off the field, and I'm proud of our student athletes here. What you're going to see tonight is an athletic budget that still, I think, is very responsive to the needs that we have in our community and in our school. We're going to have a safe and healthy environment with some of the, obviously, programs that occur on and off campus. And the academic performance is one that is consistently higher from the students at large, and I think that's an important piece that we always have in place with our athletes. The budget proposal, this one we can see a little better. So we have 3 lines, and the 3 bottom ones, the supplies, the contract from the BOCES, we held the line on those. Those will be frozen and kept at where they were from this past year. Our equipment line, and I'm going to talk about the increases there, but our equipment line goes from $10,000 to $20,000, and we have, prior to this year, we had $0 in our equipment line. So I've worked with Mr. Catalan about getting that in there, so he was able to give me some stuff this year. We've utilized some of that. We helped enhance the gymnasium has been a part of that. The scoreboard on the main field was starting to break down, and we were having maintenance calls on it often, so we converted to a wireless scoreboard this summer. That was a piece of it. So we've had some nice things, and we still need a lot of equipment. We can use goals, we can use high jump pits, pole vault pits. These are all areas that we can have, and we can definitely utilize that money there. And the salaries piece, we had an increase on, and I'm gonna speak to that in a minute. It's on our next slide there. But those are the 2 increases in those 2 lines for a total of $637,000. And as sometimes I'm questioning on this, the transportation presentation will address athletic trips at a future date here in front of the Board of Ed as well. So the areas we had the increases. Our equipment line, like I said, from $10,000 to $20,000. We had $0 in this line for 7 or 8 years, and it was becoming a problem. So in working with Mr. Catalan, we've been able to increase that and get us back up to speed and where we had to be. The salaries, so we increased for 3 different reasons. This year, for several reasons, we had to add a cross-country coach and a modified track coach. About 2 or 3 years ago, we removed one of our cross-country coaches. We've had a boys coach and a girls coach, and technically Marcia Bailey would be a boys coach. And then we removed one of the coaches, and she was able to handle both of the teams. But with changes in cross-country, we were running races simultaneously, and it just wasn't a safe area for us having one of them out in the woods with nobody there helping them out. So we had to add that. Modified track coach, it was a supervision issue. We had almost 55 kids coming over from the middle school to the high school every day, and Brad Fredman really needed somebody else to work with him in the dome there in terms of that regard. So I worked with Mr. Catalan about addressing that this year. Our contractual obligations, the coaching salaries had to be increased with the contractual obligations, and then in the past years, Mr. Catalan has had to increase some of the money to chaperone, so he wanted to put more money into it this year, so we increased that line there as well. There is some talk amongst athletic directors and across the section about mandating chaperones at almost every varsity event, and that's something that I work very closely with a lot of our peers on now on an as-needed basis, but I don't think at this time we'd have to worry about that for next year, but it's more of an as-needed basis right now. So we hold the line. As I said, we're continuing to hold the line in some of our areas here. We continue to reduce the number of games at the lower levels. The modifieds and the JVs are all about 2 games short in the maximum number of games that they can play. We're still with that. We still freeze specific inventory as much as we can. I'm working with coaches now, getting our budget prepared for next year. So
that question came. What is inventory?
It's just what it is. I just had our softball coach doing a clinic in there, and he didn't realize that some of the Incrediballs or softy balls that he put orders in, we still had some of those in from last year. So I've worked with Meg Griner. Her and I have been working very closely on what we have in our supply closet about just trying not to buy certain pieces of equipment, or not equipment, I won't say, inventory, whether they're balls, whether they're the cones, and whether any types of things teams utilize for practices. They can get costly when they add up, and we've done a pretty good job of just really freezing that as need be. We continue to do drop-only trips for our transportation, and coaches are becoming very aware of this. Just today, for wrestling sectionals, Coach LaValle called me and said for our kids going to sectionals on Saturday, we don't need a drop-only. He just got word that every parent will be there for all the sectional kids, so that's a lengthy day up at Arlington High School for the wrestlers. So even coaches are becoming aware of this and on top of this, as even getting ahead of this now. Back-to-back games in the district are occurring, so many of our teams are playing back-to-back, saving a trip on one particular team and being able to shuttle teams back and forth whenever that case may be. And we continue to limit the use of the building on the holidays. At certain times we just shut it down completely on holidays whenever we can, but that becomes an obvious overtime type of cost there, so we limit that use there as well. So our student participation, we are still right around where we have been in past years. So our enrollment is just a little over 1,200 in grades 7 through 12, where we offer the interscholastic athletics. And this past year, we had 689 students participate in a sport, which is 57% of those kids, which is up 0.5% from last year. So we still have a nice chunk of our kids participating in our sports here. So that's a nice number, nice data for our kids here. And that's my piece of the pie. So a picture is worth 1,000 words. Mine was 0.87% for the athletics. All right, so that for that regard there. So thank you.
Anybody else?
On behalf of the student athletes, and they still continue to do great things. So thank you.
I would just like to say that the teacher appreciation program that you do is so valued by the teachers. Not because, I'm part of that, but it has been just such positive feedback from the people that have participated. I think the student athletes, as well as the teachers who have been selected.
Thank you. And we started that in the fall, and the kids came back after the fall. The intention when I talked to some of the kids about it was a way to help increase our school spirit and our faculty and the connection between the faculty and the student athletes. Our intention was, let's just do the fall season. And it wasn't the teachers. It was all the kids said, no, now we got to do winter. And now we did winter, and now the kids like, let's do spring. So it's very, very nice to see that our student athletes want to say thank you. And it's really nice to see the teachers that they pick from all different areas. We have elementary, middle school, we have high school, we have security guards, we had women on Claire Carey's staff in the cafeteria. It's so nice to see the dedication of our staff across the board and our kids recognizing that and just wanting to say thank you.
And I'd like to just, on behalf of everybody in the district, who I've spoken to, thank you for implementing that program, because it's
Thank
been
you.
wonderful.
Appreciate that.
Appreciate you discussing the Dignity Act and the Positive Coaching Alliance. Those kind of things make a lot of difference. One thing, how do our athletic teams monitor like alcohol and substance abuse, and how do you work with the students on those things?
Well, so when we know of something, we deal with it. Prior to every season, like this past season, we had our substance abuse, Angela Alvarado came in. She spoke with all the teachers and the coaches, I should say, about strategies that she has and some of the conversations that she can have with kids and some of the confidentiality pieces and reporting and things like that. So, and a lot of it is speaking to kids and just making sure that, you talk to some of these leaders and that they can come forward and speak to the people we have as well. But it was important that Ms. Alvarado came in and spoke to some of our coaches and about the strategies that they can help have there.
Is there something we can do more with the non-L? I've spoken to Joe on this because, to me, some of the non-L issues that we have are because it's not proper follow-up, they're missing a homework assignment, or they're doing it. Is there a way that the coaches can take a little bit more active interest in making sure? I mean, because to me, there should be last year I think it was the girls varsity soccer, one of the star players didn't make it because of non-L, and it cost them going on potentially further. We should be in tune to who needs help and staying on top of that. I know that they're becoming young men and ladies, but in college they have people in place, or they have procedures in place. Is there something that we can do differently to get that 6% down? Because a lot of it has a time, it's just like little things.
Well, we're at 3% now for the winter, so that's one of the lowest we've ever been at. I mean, yes, you mentioned a lot of it is we put out so much information there with our grade book and what kids are having with that. We do some stuff. Coaches are on top of it. Many times before practices, you'll see kids working with the peer tutoring program. We'll work with Varsity Club along with any of our peer tutors we have to try to get any kids involved. I don't want to name names, but in particular teams, but we have certain kids that knew it was going to be a problem, and the upperclassmen, along with the coach, and the coach really taking the lead on that, working with the upperclassmen, saying, before practice, let's just sit down and do this. Those opportunities are there. I would think one step that maybe we can take a look at, and something I have to work with Mr. Swerdloff on, is a lot of coaches, if you're not in the building, you may not have the infinite campus capabilities to really check up on your kids and really look on that. So, if I have an out-of-district coach or a coach in another building, they don't have the capabilities that other teachers may have who are coaches here. So that's something that we've talked about a little bit, about maybe that take another step forward in that regard, and maybe that's something that I can work with Mr. Swerdloff on and how we want to take that step forward on that.
I know it's just this year in football, we were short on numbers to begin with, and then all of a sudden we had a wave of 3 or 4 kids that didn't make it, which affected our numbers more, and then we had 12 kids up for JV. So those are the kind of things that we need to look at to try to, and a lot of it, like you said, if they were to be able to get on to internet campus, they'd see that they missed 2 homeworks, and they're getting close to that. That's going to bring them from a 72 or 75 down to a 60 if we're able to get them to stay on top of that. Those are the kind of things that I just like to see us do a little bit better. So
no, I respect that, and I think a lot of it also, and I work with Mr. Mackin, Mr. Callahan, Mr. DiGiovanni, and a lot of the teachers here, and how we're about. This policy now is probably it's got to be a little more than 10 years old, so it's at that point now where we're going to assess it. We've done a lot of tweaks to it, but a lot of school districts are taking a look at, does progress report time, report card time, when does the list get ran? Is it more objective at one time, subjective at another time, and stuff like that? Because the reality is, I hate to see kids, it really bothers me if they're on that list and they may have only had one assessment in a particular class. And yet, here we are 5 weeks into a quarter. So those are all questions that we do have to take a look at, I think, and moving forward for that whole process.
Well, a lot of times the non-L list comes out just before the sectionals.
Oh, I can tell you every year when it comes out.
I mean, it really comes out of county, but I mean...
The information's there on the grade book.
My feeling is it's ultimately the student and the parent's responsibility. I mean, it is the coaches, but that kid knows, he knows or she knows they've got a responsibility. They know when sectionals are coming up. It's their job to make sure
Yeah.
that that homework
But
is
you know,
done, and they.
You need a fail-safe because the other kids that
The fail-safe is the non-L policy. I mean,
But you know, in college, they have people that in place to make sure.
But
So
you know what,
I
yeah, but you know.
I understand.
That's a whole other conversation, because.
I think the athletes also take a big chunk of it. And by that is like students like myself and Matt Kenny when we play on the lacrosse team, and Connor when he was here. They always open to tutor right before practice, even on the long bus rides up to Brewster or whatnot. So the students do really care about the other students, and the team is a team.
No, they
so,
do. They make the effort.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
absolutely do.
But
again,
that has to be before they're
you
not
don't
out.
know,
Absolutely.
and someone needs to come to you and tell you that
Yeah.
I don't get this.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. So yeah.
But I would like to thank you. I mean, I always have been a strong proponent of sports in school.
Yes.
Of the 44, I got 2 represented. So
That's nice.
So, and I know it's huge because
It's been great.
It's so much more than, I mean, it's not about, in some kids it is a segue into college, and it's an opportunity to go reach a little bit further. For other kids, it's the carrot and the stick, and it's what makes them come to school and do what they're supposed to, and get decent grades, and because they know if that's what it takes, then so be it.
Right.
But I
So
just,
many other things they
and
learn,
again,
too.
the time management, the responsibility, and kids who are on the team, they're not getting in trouble because they're doing, they're not messing around at home or elsewhere.
Right.
They're working out for 2 and 3 hours after
We have
school.
great things going on here, so
Yep.
there's been some great
So
things for
absolutely.
Annie to cover for us on this.
Constantly, it's wonderful. So, everybody have any other questions or satisfied with it? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for your time.
Thank
Be
you.
safe tomorrow.
Stay warm. Nope.
Oh.
We had the conversation. That our next, pardon, we'll do it after the policies, we'll just do it all at once. And we have 3 policies. Our first policy is it's overcharging of school meals. It is a first reading. Carol, I believe you're going to
Yes.
take it away.
I think I'm doing all the policies today.
Okay.
So this policy was in response to the number of parents and/or students that are trying to purchase meals without actually paying for them. Those meals do have to be paid for, so we needed to come up with a clearly defined policy for what's going to happen if they're not being paid for on a regular basis. So this policy 5701, overcharging of school meals. The Hendrick Hudson Board of Education recognizes that on occasion,
Move to waive
students-
further reading.
You can always count on Charles for that.
Okay.
Carol wanted to read it, Charles, come on.
You can read it
So
if
what
you
are
want.
the main criteria is if student is using, if they're using cash or the prepaid meal card.
Right, so if they're abusing that privilege, if they forget once or twice, okay, people forget once or twice. If it becomes a habit, then there are alternatives. For the younger kids, we'll offer them a cold meal rather than the hot meal, which is more expensive for the district to provide. For the high school students, they get out at about 2, they can probably make it until then. They're big kids, they should be bringing their money and learning responsibility and that they have to pay for the things that they want to consume. And some of those students may be using their
There's
lunch
no
money
free
to
lunch.
consume elsewhere, so like Dunkin' Donuts or.
Yeah.
So that's the bottom line, really.
The policy, my introduction to Claire Carey over the summer was with a folder of, Joe, please, let's talk about it. So we, at our first policy committee meeting back in the fall, we discussed it, Claire attended, and I think the next step is how to engage the principals with communicating with parents to pay the bill and get our money back and what we can do. So we'll identify some regulations, but as Carol said, this policy creates some consistency and a vision of what to do in response to students that can't pay for their lunch over time.
This is a first reading, so we do have to revisit this. Does anybody have any thoughts about immediate changes or to be incorporated for our next reading?
How much money are we talking about?
A lot.
No, I'm.
No, there's a lot of, my understanding, because I have spoken to Claire about it, is that there are students who come in and it's, it's not, I mean, individually it's not a lot, but it adds up. I mean, because you have like,
So what,
a dozen, thanks.
yeah.
We'll get you. But it's significant.
substantial.
It's
Yeah.
significant.
It is even significant for some individual children and families, because I can remember, when I was a teacher, you would, have certain children that would just keep charging and charging and charging, and, you didn't want them not to have lunch.
But the idea is that when they do send home notices, and with the school bucks, they do have triggers that tell you when it's getting low and it's time to replenish, or that you have actually gone into the negative. And again, the idea is not to let children not eat, but frankly, it's not free.
Right, and for the young kids, they're offered a cold meal, middle school kids as well. For the high school kids, not as much. And of course, there's free and reduced lunch available.
If it's really a
If
financial
it's a real
burden.
financial need.
Thank you. We'll bring this back the next time. The next one is policy 4317. Correct?
No.
Wrong?
5312 or 9117.
Oh, okay.
5212.
All right, I'm sorry, the next
So
one
we'll
is,
do 5312.1.
Yep.
Okay, which is drug and alcohol abuse. This is a policy that's already on our books. In light of the recent tragedies, we thought it would be good to revisit this, kind of refresh it, renew the language because some of the language was a little bit outdated, and add a little bit of a stronger message. So this is policy number 5312.1, drug and alcohol abuse. The Board of Education is committed to the prevention of alcohol and other substance use and abuse. The policy describes the philosophy of the
Move away
district
from
and
the
the
reading.
program.
no, we're good. Just-
Oh, this is a first reading.
Yes, it is. I apologize. I'm just confused here. So it's, again, that's
the regulation.
this is from NISBA, is it not? NISBA gave us at
this
least the
is
bones
actually-
of it, correct?
Yes, but this policy is already in our policy book, so the bones of it really came from our policy book in conjunction with NISBA. And this is one of the student policies. So it's not that easy to find in the policy book. It's not like separated out as drug and alcohol abuse section or anything like that, but this is in the student conduct section.
Okay. Well, I don't think it's, well, there might be a question even to.
The underlines, I think, are the changes, and then the
Okay.
last section came from the regulation and was put into the policy.
Okay. All right. So basically, the changes that were made were the underline, basically just sort of elaborating a little bit about,
Which drugs are, yeah, because the drugs have changed since the policy was first written in 1990.
Manufactured.
Right.
Synthetics, and bath salts, a lot of those.
it's depressing. All right. So do we, this is, again, it's a first revision. I think it's, even though it is a revision, theoretically, we could vote on it.
Can we do
Would
something
any, go ahead.
in the second paragraph? The first sentence starts up, and then it ends with a comma, except drugs as prescribed by a prescription. And then it goes all the way down to the last sentence. It says the inappropriate use of prescription and over-the-counter drugs should also be prohibited. What we're really talking about is illegal drugs, or so. Can we separate those out?
Well, no, because we're also talking about the illegal use of prescription drugs. You know,
Yeah.
kids
Yes,
go to their
so-
parents' medicine cabinet and take the
So, but we're
Oxycontin.
saying here, one, you're
That's
saying
not illegal use of the drug.
except drugs as prescribed by a prescription. So let's have a part that says you can use prescription drugs
Appropriately.
appropriately as they are prescribed.
That's why it says
Okay.
accept drugs as prescribed by a physician.
But that's sort of an afterthought in that whole sentence. to
So you
me.
want that as a whole sentence?
Yes, and then you can say you can't use, possess, blah, blah, blah.
What do you want to just take out the comma?
No,
Wants
I
to
just
separate
want to
it
say,
out
if
as
you want
a-
to
as
use
a
drug,
complete
if you have a prescription for drugs and you have a physician saying you can do it, that should be one thing.
Yeah. Except drugs.
Any other use of them, you can cover it. Just to me, it's
Well, okay. No student may use, possess, sell, offer, manufacture, distribute alcohol or other substances, nor may use or possess drug paraphernalia in school grounds or school sponsored, except drugs as prescribed by a physician. Prescribed to him or her. You know, but I think that's clear. I mean, the idea is basically that, you know, obviously alcohol, but I mean, pardon?
I'm sorry, but don't you have to go through the nurse even as a high school student?
yeah, all drugs have to be in the nurse's office.
Right. I mean, you couldn't bring your antibiotic or whatever to school without a doctor's note and through the nurse.
What if you're at a sporting event, because this also includes sporting events, after school sporting events? You need your
Inhalers are
Can you
different.
bring that with you?
The trainer or the coach carries the inhalers.
But it's not even just, I don't think they're just talking about.
They carry their own inhalers?
Protecting students as well, you know, just.
In high school.
Or
No.
students
This
even in
particular one is in
elementary.
the student
Code
conduct policy section. And this one really relates mostly to the students.
Well, it's on school grounds or it's school-sponsored events, which aren't necessarily in school. I mean, you're not going to expect the school nurse to have, like, if you have your antibiotic or something, or at like a volleyball game that's over at, you know, North
Right.
Salem. So I think that's sort of what you're referring to there.
But the
I
coach
think
should
it's-
have your
EpiPen?
EpiPen. Somebody.
Correct, but we're not just talking about students, we're talking about, you know, participant, you know, students who are just watching as well. I mean,
Yeah.
this is more universal, this isn't just specific. I think it says what it needs to, and I think the intention is clear. You know, I don't really think it's open to that much, you know, I mean, no drugs, no alcohol. I mean, you know, unless you've got, like, you know, again, what the doctor prescribed for you. So I'm comfortable enough with that. Do you want to think about it and maybe see if you can come up with something a little bit better for next time when we
I'll
discuss
try.
this again?
Yes.
All right. Does anybody else have any? We'll just revisit this one as well in the next time. And the drug-free workplace.
The last policy is 9117, again, a first read. It's, the policy is called drug-free workplace. The Board of Education prohibits the illegal, improper, or unauthorized manufacture, distribution, dispensing, possession, or use of any controlled
Move away
substance
further
in the
reading.
workplace.
Thank you. We just figured to let you go.
Could have read the whole thing in short, but anyway.
You're getting a penny per word.
The intent of this policy is really to mirror the policy you just read that appeared in the student conduct piece. This appears for all staff. And the last paragraph or last sentence talks about implementing and developing regulation in accordance with the Act of 1988, which there is one that NISBA recommends, which we would edit and implement.
Can we, in the 5312, we have there's where there's going to be consequences, no consequences if there, so can we, I mean, or is that contractual, I just heard that, I mean, is there something that we can put in there as a policy, immediate suspension, you know?
That there
So-
should be some sort of,
So, I mean, because we're telling the students that there's going to be consequences, but the staff that, you know, they can't do it, but there's no consequences.
You're talking about the student.
No, the student.
No, he's saying he wants to see
I wanna
consequences
I
on
want
the-
to see some sort
on
of
the-
consequence to staff.
which is, I mean.
The regulation is in our packet here, the executive piece. So the regulation talks about intervention, well, talks about prevention, talks about intervention, EAP, or counseling, or
It's such conviction may have been initiated for every disciplinary.
which number?
6 in the regulation. But I think what there's,
Yeah, it's at, yeah, where appropriate, referrals made for,
I don't know, whoever printed this. Okay.
I printed it.
Maybe she did it on Monday. You're looking at 5312.
Oh, did
Oh,
I get it
yeah.
wrong? I'm sorry.
Sorry.
My fault.
No, but in the fourth, no, you're fine. Charles, Carson, it says within 30 days, the superintendent shall notify the Board of Ed.
We
They're
didn't have
talking,
that, I'm just looking on here, I was looking at 9117.
the workplace regulations, but I do, 9117, it does talk about regulations about the dangers and the, it says that the statement, it does talk about within 30 days of such a conviction, the district shall approach
We didn't have
initiative.
that on this one here, I didn't see that. So
Okay.
if you have-
It's here.
If you have a different one, it's, ours is not, the one I was reading, off is not.
That's, no, that's that. This
all
is the regulations.
Okay.
This would be, in in conjunction with it.
This is the one that's in this book.
No, I mean, it does talk about
There's a
convictions.
policy.
There's probably an argument to have something maybe a little bit even immediate. I think that's what you're asking for. If a teacher is found to have this, then the superintendent does indeed have to take some sort of action. I don't know if that,
I mean,
where that's
we're gonna
contractual.
tell the kids that, there's gonna be immediate action, I mean, staff should be, they shouldn't be held, higher than the kids. Don't look at me that way.
I'm looking at you.
That's why
Superintendent.
we're putting this policy. That's why we're putting this policy.
Unlawful
But is that a
manufactured.
contractual issue?
Contractually, you have to follow 3028 disciplinary hearings. A district can't have a separate disciplinary code from the state. So if we found Mary Pat, you name it, with drugs on herself, we would have to start an investigation in accordance with 3028.
It does. It says the statement shall specify the actions. There's going to actually be published a
Yeah.
statement notifying the district employees
So
of
you-
what's going to happen.
You start 3028, you prefer charges. You can suspend, you have to suspend with pay, you go through.
But we didn't have this on our policy.
If you look at number 3, it says the superintendent, his or her shall publish a statement notifying the district employees of the unlawful and what's, that is prohibited. The statement shall specify the actions that will be taken against employees for violations.
Have we had this in place?
9117 is a.
I don't know how long that's been in place. It says no, first reading
First
here.
reading, new policy.
First reading, this is a new policy.
Carol, we don't have this one?
No.
9117 was not in our,
It's,
No,
this
that
is
one's
coming
new.
up as first.
there's
No,
nothing in our
that's-
policy book.
We can look,
That's
I mean,
what-
you
that
can
was
look
the point
online,
I was
but,
making.
all right. All right, so, again, this is something that will come back. If you would like to look at the, in the next 2 weeks, look at the policy 9117 and the regulations to clarify some, to make it a little bit more in line with, to make them both compatible. Absolutely. So, I think that's it for today. That's the 3. There's not another one, is there?
Yeah, now, but I will say the absence of a policy doesn't mean we can't address the behaviors through existing avenues.
We have a policy in place, more teeth,
More teeth and a
Yes.
position statement.
yes.
Absolutely.
that's it.
And it's critical because
That's right.
the students should not be held to a different standard,
True.
Exactly.
All right, so that brings us to the end. We will discuss all 3 of these, the next board meeting, time, second reading, time allowing. That would bring us to audience comments. Could you state your name, please?
Good evening. My name is Marzena Przybylowska. I'm here today to follow up on the inquiry that was brought up by my husband last time when the Board of Education met in January. It relates to the before school program being closed on days where we have a delay, 2-hour delay. This is a day when we need a lot of help from the center. So just following up.
The mother connection.
It's about having mother connection.
Mother connection open before.
It's hard to hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, it relates to Mother Connection before school program. It's
Go
also
ahead.
delays.
The Mother Connection, I believe he had asked about the extending Mother Connection. That's being used in the schools, though. Mother Connection, if the schools are closed, Mother Connections, I mean, that's their facility, so.
I think Principal Mrs. Tracy mentioned they can use the facility.
But we cannot, a lot of times when they're getting ready for a snow day, they're still cleaning up, like, we have a 2-hour delay so that we have time to get the schools in order. So they're not going to open the school even for Mother Connection to drop these children off. I mean, if it's not quite loud or safe, or it's not ready to receive students in buses and such.
I understand, but for example, I know you can feel frustration in my voice. I'm not frustrated at you, but it's very difficult to manage work and
I'm more
you know.
Believe me, we
However, for example, high school starts at 9:30.
Correct. It's everything 2 hours. Yep.
Yes, so the buses start running.
Correct, but the high school may be cleaned out because they clean up the high school first because they know those students are coming in. And then they proceed, they work out based on the start times of each classroom. You know what she's asking, if you're.
Maybe could we move Mother Connection to the high school?
Probably it's not convenient because
They use every inch of the high
I know.
school, so that's.
Well, we came here just to see if there's anything we can do as a community.
I
Other
think
districts
that's-
are open.
There's really, and a purely personal, I would say be nice to your neighbors. No, I'm just saying, because that's what when I did it, I would, I'd trade off with my neighbors. It's like, if you had this snow day, I get that one. As for Mother Connection, the way we open up the schools though, and we can't really say use the high school and because then those children all have to be transported to their individual schools.
I'm not asking for that.
No, but I'm saying, I'm not sure what the options are because if, say, Furnace Woods is it's not cleaned up and ready to receive students yet, so Mother Connection is not going to be, Mother Connection is not going to be there. They follow the schedule of the school. So, and we can't open this Mother Connection at 7:30, when school's not even going to be open until
No, I'm not talking about 7:30. I'm talking about 9 a.m., 2 hours later.
Correct, but the school still has not necessarily been cleaned out yet, so, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So, no, if the school is not ready to receive students, I mean, at 9 o'clock, we're ready at the high school to have kids. Now the custodians and our staff are still working on cleaning up. Now they move on to Furnace Woods and Frank G and Blue Mountain and the other. They fan out based on that schedule. So I don't see where their Mother Connection will be in the school at 9 o'clock if the school's not even opening to get their students until 10:30 or 11. So it's an agreement Mother Connection has with the school, and their schedule follows the school schedule.
And I feel your frustration.
Oh,
All of us here have been in that same position,
Absolutely.
scrambling in the morning and, having that 2-hour delay and how hard it is, really.
It is terrible.
Seriously, we feel for you. And what I worked out with friends is that we try to do a rotating schedule so that one person can stay home and get 2 or 4 of the kids on the bus in the morning. Everybody will drop off at that person's house. And that's worked fairly well. But it's difficult if you don't have close friends in that group or that if you're new to the district. And it's very difficult. It's
Very
hard. Those late starts are really hard. And the early dismissal is just as hard.
Well, I understand snow days and safety is always first, but I thought maybe we can rearrange something or do something so the school can be cleaned and prepared earlier. I don't know.
But again, it's still a safety issue. If the school isn't ready and it's still not cleaned out for the students to get there.
Part of it is a very complex operation. We run a 3-tier bus system. We have bus routes that run 3 different times so that we don't have to have so many buses and so many drivers.
I understand. I know.
And so the big buses are mostly driven by custodians in the buildings, and so then
They're still clean. It's when they're done.
they get the buildings ready, and then they have to drive the buses, and so it's a very complex.
Yes.
It's very,
Problem.
it's very complex though if you're a mother and a father working. I can understand, you know,
She's
and
talking the morning, drop the
sympathize.
child off
Yeah.
at Furnace Woods or Frank G. And then,
Just in the morning.
and, you know, they watch
Right.
it until school starts.
So they were asking
But
that
with
they
the
start
2-hour
Mother
delay,
Connection.
she's
You know,
suggesting
if
that Mother
school's on a
Connection
2-hour
should
delay,
open it.
Mother Connection should be on the same 2-hour delays.
So should it start, it should start 2 hours before the school.
Correct, but if Mother Connection, but if it's
I
two.
know, I got it.
Okay.
It doesn't always happen though.
Thank you.
We will
Thank
not
you.
stop considering trying to figure things out.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
There we go.
Good evening, everyone. John DeBenedictis. I just, as I was listening to tonight's presentation, I was thinking about the new math program and all the problems that these teachers are going through and the kids are going through and the parents certainly are going through. And it kind of struck me that the district is spending $1,000 a student to play after-school athletics, and the district has literally done nothing in expenditures for these children. In other words, I asked the question at the math programs, were there any math labs set up? The answer was no. I asked were there any mentoring programs instituted? I was told no. And I just think, you know, that we could have spent a little bit more money with some sort of extra help for these children, because some of these children are having problems, and the teachers are having problems. And I know for a fact that the teachers just had a meeting only a week ago or so on the math program out of Frank G. Lindsay. And like I say, I find it to be really interesting that we can, and I'm not saying that to quit the program, but the thing is we can spend that kind of money per student, and yet we have such an important math program going on right now, and it's so disruptive. And the district has really not spent a lot of money to help these children, and whether it would be mentoring, math labs, I don't know. But I think we just really could have spent some money and time for these kids, because they're having some problems.
I could speak to this a little bit. So I'm Math Honor Society, and we run programs where I think weekly or
I'm sorry, you ought to speak a little louder.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I'm in Math Honor Society. It's a high school program that you have to test into and whatnot. And so we're all people who love math, but are also really good at tutoring and you know, helping kids at all levels. We have programs right now where we go to. Right now we have Frank G. in Furnace Woods. I think we're looking to also do BV, as well as maybe moving up into the middle school action too, so that it's peer student tutoring who have been through the math programs, even though they might not have been through Common Core because they came through high school before that was instituted. But we do have an understanding of the math. So there's been every day for about 5 or 6 periods. I know I spend my lunches a few times a week in here. We have a big sign-up board that says, you know, anyone who needs help in math, they can sign their name for a specific period, and we have these students in the library.
How many elementary students have you mentored since this began, since the Common Core program began and the changeover to the Singapore math program?
So this began this year with Math Honor Society. We've been doing them. It's brand new. We're just working with it. We've been doing it once a week, and as many students as we can get. Usually,
This is a wonderful program that we have to supplement the teacher, the professional and staff development, the professional development for the teachers to help them with this. This is a wonderful thing that has been going on for several years. The students go down to Frank G. Lindsay, they go to
I only joined this year.
They go down, they help the kids, and it's wonderful it helps on all levels, because it helps, it's using our very talented high schoolers who will go down and connect with kids, where a lot of times, kids love that. They love seeing the big guys come. Joe will tell you that we are absolutely doing a tremendous amount of professional development with the teachers. We're doing math programs. We're doing with
quality
the Common
training.
Core, the training to get them up to. This came out of, you can sit here and say, let's take away sports and put that.
I never said to take away sports, Mary Pat. I said that
John, I don't want to argue.
Right.
You and I have had this argument numerous times, but I would like to tell you, you are saying that there is absolutely no professional development taking place, and these kids are like adrift. They are not. They are not. We are very well aware of what Common Core has provided and the position it has put the district in, and this district has responded, as has many other, all of New York State and beyond here. But I think it's important to realize that we are responding, and the teachers are getting much of the professional development, and we are doing math nights, and we are asking, the students are helping out, and the teachers are doing what they need. And there are teachers' assistants that are coming in and being provided with the information that they need so that they can help the students. It's not just, you're suggesting that nothing is being done, and I think it's completely unfair. And it's
I think more
completely
could have been
misinformed.
done, and I think if you do talk to your staff, and maybe they don't want to talk to you, but maybe we need to borrow, St. Christopher's confessional over here where they could talk without being known. You might find that they are having problems and they are not satisfied with what has occurred. And the fact is, you're transitioning elementary students to a completely new math program. And we could have done a lot better. We could have done a lot better.
Yeah, and I saw John at the math night at Frank G., who was eagerly learning all the new vocabulary and ways of adding, subtracting, and dividing. So I don't know who you specifically spoke to, but I can tell you, just since my arrival, this district has made a very significant financial investment in staff development, and not staff development that I decided, or Alice or Matthew. We brought the teachers together, the teacher leaders, the grade level chairs, and said, what do you need? And we brought in a very knowledgeable consultant that did a series of grade level workshops with all of our staff late January. The grade levels are meeting once a month, if not more often, to identify best practice. And the team of teacher leaders have met weekly in a math-specific department. The teachers essentially divided up reading, writing, and math to help make some of these organizational decisions to help one another.
Joe, were they here 2 weeks ago to give us a presentation?
Yeah.
To give us a presentation of what they're doing for the Common Core.
Yeah.
So they are doing.
I understand that.
If you were here, you would have.
When you mentioned, if you mentioned the word math labs, everybody goes, yeah, we probably should have had some of those. If you mentioned mentoring, people say, yeah, that would have been a great idea too. And I know
who
this.
you're talking to, John, but
I'm sorry?
They're getting, the teachers are getting professional development. They are working together. There are entire teams of teachers that are pulling this together.
Well, I think I have yet to talk to a parent who thinks that the program is really clicking along at high speed.
That's statewide.
Well,
Okay.
it's statewide, John.
That's why the Board of Regents just retracted, and now they're going
I know
away
that,
from that.
but I'm
So,
saying that
because everybody has
a
that
lot
same-
of parents
same
are
thought.
seeing their children
No, but,
having problems.
It's just not here, John. It's just not here. It's the whole state, and that's why the New York State Board of Regents has just retracted, said 2022.
I understand
So
it, Carson.
You're pointing the finger here and saying we're not doing it. We're doing just as much as everybody else.
Well, maybe we should do more.
Actually, well,
I'm
you know,
sure if you
actually-
were here last meeting, you would understand what the teachers are doing.
Right.
Okay?
Actually, Jeff, why don't we let Alice talk about with the professional development? And basically, we did have the conversation. If you watch, maybe when you get the opportunity online, and see what happened the last time, when the teachers did present about the programs that they're offering, both in the writing, in the reading, and in the math programs. So they are being provided things. It should be online.
Okay,
So-
but I still maintain right now, a lot
I
of
know,
these
but-
kids don't know math.
There you go.
Good-
Alice,
good-
if you'd like to speak about what some of the things, that would be great.
All right.
We could talk individually.
We're doing
if
the
you'd
most
like.
we've ever done in
I'd like to
professional
talk to you.
development. Many of us would like to see math specialists, and it's a dream we have, and we'll get there, but it all costs money. However, we're doing the most work we've ever done in professional development in math, and the teachers are grateful. They're feeling like they're
They're very
supported.
grateful.
We have another round with the consultant at the end of the year to prepare for the beginning of next year. And it's actually a ton of professional development work in math, elementary math.
Well, it's necessary for this program. Thank you.
Any other audience comments? All right, that brings us to the end of the meeting then.
New business.
All right, new business, Charles.
Carol.
Oh, wait, I have new business.
Oh. I thought it was Charles.
No, I'm sorry. The Westchester Putnam State School Board Association has asked for some assistance in advocating for elimination of the gap elimination adjustment. And I would like to put that on the agenda for the next meeting or the meeting after. And I just wanted to give people a heads up in case they wanted to look into a little bit what the GEA is. So hopefully we'll be discussing that further at a later meeting.
We can put that as, just everyone look into it a little, and we can have a, snow day tomorrow.
Carol sent out a,
And we can have a
Snow day
conversation.
tomorrow and we can chat about it further, about whether we
Sounds
want to help support them.
just, briefly, Carol sent out information for all of us to look at, and it would be useful to look at it because, what was it, $4 million over the last 4 years that we've, our state aid has been cut by that much. $585 million for the Lower Hudson Valley. So that's a significant amount of money, and we just want to advocate for it and talk about whether
we looked at our state aid runs that the governor proposed, and we did better than last year, and Linda Puglisi suggested we should do even better after the 3 men in a room negotiation. However, this district, in terms of state aid, is receiving less than it did in 2009. So when you think about how much more it costs to live in this world in the last 4 years, and we're receiving less aid from the state, there is a disparity, and that is essentially the push to Albany to say as cost of living goes up and fixed costs and other things go up, schools should be aided proportionally, and that's just not the case yet.
Well, it's a bit of a shell game that the governors have been running. They say you get this much state aid, but we're taking this back in the gap elimination adjustment.
If you just notice, the amount of used to say 100% of the amount used to go to education. Now we're saying a portion of it's new ed.
It's around 33, 35%.
Yeah,
It's
well,
just taken from Peter to pay Paul to help Mary Beth.
That would bring us to the end of the meeting.
Yes,
There you go. Well, as everybody knows, tomorrow is the day off. Thank you, Mother Nature. Killing us. The midwinter break is next week, so the students will be home. And our next board meeting is 2 weeks from today, Wednesday, February 26th, and it will be here.
And real quick, for all of those watching at home, because of tomorrow's snow day, school will be in session on Monday, April 21st. So we will see you on Monday, April 21st.
No such thing as Easter Monday. Thank you very much. Can I get a motion to close? All those in favor?